And
Oh, I'm a
yes, we are live on the Woman Agenda podcast channel on YouTube and also live on the Twitter handle. On Twitter, we have a special guest, Angelin Chang. A very if you've been following her, which I'm sure a lot of people have been. She's a very famous pianist, Grammy Award winner, a doctor in music. She's doing loads of stuff on there. Angelina, how are you today, first of all?
Thank you so much, Raj. It's great to be here. And hey, everybody.
Fantastic. And so, if I can ask you first of all regarding, I think you've done this for quite a long time now, being a pianist.
Mhm.
So how did it first begin?
How it first began. Oh my goodness. So it was a little bit by accident.
Right.
Yeah, my story really is sort of one by precocious nature. Still very curious person. I love to learn about the world, but my parents, our family, they were invited to a rather formal dinner, and grown up type of dinner at somebody's place. And it was a very nice place. And I was quite young, I'd say probably about 4 years old or so. And I just couldn't sit still. And I just roamed around while the adults talked. And then I came upon the music room. I didn't know what that was, never saw anything like that in my life. This big black thing that what I know today is a piano, but it's like, what is that? And the host of the house, she was a composer, musician, music teacher, and she sat me down, played a little something, had me play a little something, and the rest of the night I was like my parents had hoped, in my name, Angeline, a little angel. And so they thought, oh, this is wonderful. This is what she's looking for, and that's how it happened. My parents never forced me to
Yeah.
practice. It was something that I just loved to do, and I just kept on doing for since basically. So
Yeah.
that's how I got
Wow.
started. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I
Well, it is. I mean, so you've so how long has it been? How long have you been doing this?
yeah, it's been quite some time, decades now, but
Yeah.
and I have to say it's really because of that early start and my teachers. Like I had mentioned, my parents don't really know that much about the field, and
Yeah.
it was my teachers, and just the encouragement and interest that came along with that. And that's why it encouraged me not only to become a performer, but also a teacher, an educator myself. So that's how I got started in it, and that's what's kept me going, because it's not just about I know that I wouldn't be where I am today without my teachers and all the people who I've stood on the shoulders of. So that's where it's been a big mission for me, not only to pay it back to my teachers, but pay it forward to the next generations. Yeah.
Yeah, to help then the next generations in being a pianist. So how many albums? I mean, what I've checked online, I don't know if this is updated or not. It was saying they were talking about your solo album. So is this your first album, or have you released more than one album?
So I've performed quite a few different types of let's say solo is one, chamber music is another, a soloist with orchestra, for example. And I'll tell you about the Grammy recording, which is really special to me, and it relates to what I just told you earlier about how I got my start and how teachers are very important to me. Well, the recording is of work by a teacher of mine an eminent composer named Olivier Messiaen, and his wife. They were my teachers when I was at the Paris Conservatory, or the
Right.
Conservatoire National Supérieur de Musique de Paris in France. And so there it was really special not only to win a Grammy, actually, I don't know if you know this, but I am as a classical pianist, the first American woman to have won a Grammy, and also the
Yeah.
first pianist of Asian descent too. So it's like very special, but it's not just that was special. It was what it was for, and for me, that was paying tribute back to my teachers, those who gave so much to me, and so for me, it was a way of honoring them as well. So that's what made it especially special.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so where do you get the inspiration? So you've released how many solo albums have you released?
I've well, recently I've been doing a lot of things that are not released actually. So a lot of live performance, and there's
Yeah.
some things that may be coming out soon as well. But in the past, it's been I've done a lot of private collections as well. So a lot of it is um, it's forthcoming, but also there's a bit of surprise element as well with it. So yeah, I'll keep that under wraps for now, but maybe at the next episode, I might be able to show you something. How's that?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure it's going to get updated on which you put on the angelinchang.com, which is actually your website, official website, which everyone can get information about your music and your recent releases, and you've also uploaded a lots of information on there about your upcoming projects and lots of stuff. So it's a very detailed website, which you've launched on there.
Oh, thanks, Raj. Hmm.
No worries. No worries. No, that's fine. Yeah, because I was checking the website and I could see there was lots of detail. So tell us about how did you get the Grammy Award nomination first of all, and how did that how did that become?
Oh well, the details. It's a Well, I'll have to tell you, it was not something that one can always, let's say, plan to be nominated and
Yeah,
win and all that, right? So it's really a peer recognition, which is ultimate, because these are people who are in the same field in the industry with you, who are giving their stamp of approval. Now, the process, basically, there are many different ways. If those listeners who are interested in submitting, which is different from a nomination for Grammys. Now, we just had the Grammys not too long ago, over this past weekend. And how that works generally is there are voting members. So to qualify as a voting member, you'd have to have some specific professional achievements in the field. Okay, and then
right,
so basically they're all voting members that are in there, and to after submission, whether that be from a label, folks who might be voting members, or somehow recognized a recording for being worthy of submission, it's submitted into the process and is considered. So, for example, if you have a recording and you're interested, or if I do this a lot too, I hear some great works from my friends and I think, this really needs to be submitted. I would submit that on their behalf. Then after that submission process, it goes through some vetting to make sure it upholds to the requirements that are stipulated, and it's in the right category, etc. Then the general body, they vote for the possibility of being nominated. Usually it's about the top 5 that get nominated. And then from the top 5 nominees, then a winner is selected. And so it goes through different stages. And that's how the process, in a nutshell, how that works. So, and the thing to keep in mind, this is not necessarily, let's say, the popular vote. but people in the industry. So it might be one might be surprised from, let's say, a person who might be following a music that might be very popular, but from a professional standpoint, there might be some other elements that might be listened for. So, um,
Right.
so production wise is a category. There's in production producers, engineers. There are different genres, different aspects that folks listen to. And my category was best instrumental soloist, so it's very specific to what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it's a massive achievement being the first Asian to win a Grammy Award winner. That's such a massive achievement. So, where does your inspiration come from when you're creating music as a solo artist? Where does the inspiration come from?
mm. I have to say it all comes from the heart. Really does. If you notice, music among all the arts is the most immediate and penetrating. It can just uplift you in a second, right? And it can really,
Yeah,
in the down days, it's like it's great therapy, right? So it's something that I think has moved me so much when I discover something that I feel that can benefit others, or it really resonates and speaks to me. I want to share that. And that's how it comes. How it comes for me. So it's not just about certain genres or certain composers or certain um, let's say types of music. For me, it can be the whole gamut. It's not limited to one aspect or another. And when I listen to music or discover music, those are things I look for, where how it touches me. And it doesn't mean that it has to be only a genuinely a long melodic line, or just something that's very traditional and catchy. Sometimes it can be very intellectual and stimulating for the mind, and something that's put together in a certain way that hmm gives you an idea of oh something totally different. But in the end, for me, it's about, even if it's for music for the mind, it's still something for the soul, for the heart. And how do we combine that to make it so it's not just something that a robot can do, right? So it's something that is human, a
right.
human spirit. That for me is what's most important.
Yeah, exactly. Because music helps people relax and you know something which people can enjoy, can't they? Really. So is it any type of music? I mean, what's the main music you do? What is the main music
Well,
which you?
yeah. So um, my I guess you could say the main music that I do would be classical, Western classical music officially. But that is also very broad in itself, too. So it's not that I would specialize only in playing works by, um, let's say, Bach or Baroque, classical, romantic, or even contemporary or new works of music. But I'm open to all sorts of music, and I'm every time I travel somewhere, I always make a point of immersing myself in the local environment, musical environment, and understanding more about, well, we can really connect with the different cultures that way. And in connecting with different cultures, so to speak, we find ourselves even more deeply. And so for me, it's not about certain genres, even though that's what I do, but I work uh, very openly with other genres. One thing that was really surprising to me when I went to the Grammys for the first time, and this is when I was nominated, and everything is exciting, and I was thinking, oh, I'll be a fish out of water because I do um, classical music, and usually when you watch the Grammys, you see what's on TV, and it's just a handful of categories, which is like the most popular, let's say pop music primarily, and what's great for prime time. What people don't know,
Right.
yeah, what people don't know is that classical music is actually among the largest genres in the Grammys. Yeah, and
Wow.
it's like really? Yeah, because there are hundreds, centuries of amount of music that's covered basically for Western classical music. But there's also uh, when I went there, what was surprising to me, even more than just discovering that oh, classical music is really big, is that when I went there, there was a sense of real camaraderie and mutual respect among the musicians that it's like, ah, there's a mutual understanding regardless of genre. That was surprising to me because I thought, oh, pop musicians are like this, jazz musicians like that. You know, there's not that divide. There wasn't that I experienced from my own personal experience. It was like really unified. It was one community, one sense of hey, of belonging. And it's really magical because you don't see that on TV. You don't see that elsewhere, but except for, behind the scenes type of thing. It's like, oh, wow, it's amazing. And the other thing that's amazing about the Grammys is it's not just the show that you see on TV. What really attracted me after I learned about the Grammys, after being nominated and winning, was and what's most more gratifying is
Yeah.
how they have foundations and outreach for music education. They even have something called the Entertainment Law Initiative, where they help uh, people who represent musicians and music makers. They have wings that help musicians in need. I was part of some initiatives that helped. Well, we had some hurricanes in the United States, and that musicians lost their instruments, their livelihood. People don't think about that. They just, it's like yes, it's devastating, but sometimes these instruments are hard to replace, they're expensive, and so a lot of these or the wing under the Grammys, it's called Music Cares, this foundation, they care about the musicians. They help musicians in need in that sense to help them get back on their feet at the time they really need it. So a lot of beautiful things out of the Grammy organization that doesn't necessarily meet the eye, that people don't hear about every day.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, definitely. Yeah, that's very interesting. That is because who would have thought the classical music would be that big, unless you uh, watch or know a lot about classical music, you wouldn't have guessed that. Even I wouldn't have guessed the classical
Yeah,
music would be that big as a genre. And
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
yeah, wow, that
Yeah.
is that is that is that is actually amazing. That is.
Hmm.
Um, so who was there any role model? Was there any inspiration when you were growing up and you were learning being the piano? Was there
Yes.
anyone?
Oh, yeah, absolutely nice. I'd say a big part of it, as I had mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
are my teachers. Absolutely, my teachers, because they were role models in the sense of not just how to play the instrument, not just how to make music, but really connecting. And I was very fortunate in that because sometimes um, we might think of teachers as being taskmasters and just doing this and that. So there's a place for that. But what I experienced most was the joy of music making, of the connection of making music, not just okay, did I get the right notes in the right place? That
yeah,
getting the right notes in the right place is important so that you can actually express what's inside. That's
yeah,
the most important thing. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And I'll listen to some of the. I watched a clip on your website, and it was very interesting. Um, it's interesting music. I will say I'm the biggest watcher of classical music, but I thought I thought it was really good.
Well,
To be
thank
honest,
you. Appreciate that, Raj.
yeah, it is, and because even though I listen to just a couple of music, I still respect any type of music, and
Mm.
I try to listen if I can get the opportunity, then I do try to listen to the other types of music as well. Uh, which is always good to broaden yourself,
Yeah.
and 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 wanted to mention about you're doing stuff uh, through keyboard wellness seminars you're doing. Are these in Texas, and you're helping students down there?
Oh, yes, in different places and now
Okay.
online as well. So really having a broader reach. Not everybody has to come in live, and we can really help folks. And you'd be amazed that how long this has been a pervasive issue for musicians. But most people don't know that also, that just like sports, athletes, musicians can get injured too. And
Yeah.
but it's a lot of times, unlike sports, it might not be as obvious, or a lot of times musicians might be afraid to voice that because they might be afraid that their next gig, their livelihood, might be hindered because of people thinking that they might have some injury. That's why a lot of times these injuries go not only unreported, but sometimes I don't think it's as developed as it could be, as far as tools that can help musicians. So I'm a pianist,
Right.
not an opera singer actually, but a pianist. Um, but
I, I, I thought you were opera singer myself.
no,
You
no,
know,
no. There's
when I contacted you, and I think on there it said opera singer, and I thought,
really.
yeah, and I'm sure it said opera singer. That's why I thought you were opera singer from
Oh,
that.
really? It
Yeah,
should say pianist. But it's okay. But opera singers have injuries too. But one of the things that I
they do.
do,
They do. Yeah, absolutely.
they do, and a lot of it has to do with alignment. Alignment. You can think of opera singers. You hardly ever see any opera singer that's hunching over and singing, right, or having bad posture. There's a reason, because that's their instrument, and to really get the volume that they need to project, or to really feel okay, there has to be a sense of everything in its place and being as optimal as possible. Same thing when we work with our hands, and that's what I mainly do. Even though the general whole body holistic um, being, but primarily with pianists, it has to do with the hands, or hands, finger, hands, arm, all this apparatus. But a lot of times people think that we only use our fingers, but that's not completely true. We have to uh, use it interdependently with the rest of our bodies, and it should be in a coordinate fashion, so that not one area is too burdened over another. So that's basically a summary. But so what I do is I work with professionals and students of all levels, so that they can really be able to feel comfortable playing the instrument. Not only comfortable, but alleviate injuries, so they don't get injuries if they haven't had any. But if they do, then rid those performance related injuries, so they can really have virtuosic technique, play whatever they want, so they can express what's inside their hearts. That's my goal. And I've been thrilled that it's gotten a lot of success for folks, and I work very, very quickly and efficiently, because I have a real good eye for those things. And even online, it's like how quick. I've had some students who they're professionals, and for decades, I mean decades, not just one or two hours of practice, or months or years, but really decades, not being able to play a certain passage, and so they would shy away from playing that entire piece. And then so it's quite typical that when we have our sessions, the student will come and we fix it just like that, just with a few principles that's enlightened for them, and it's lasting too. They understand the principles, they feel it, and it just opens the doors. No more pain, and just ease when they play. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna ask you actually about that. So that's how you help the students. And So are you able to help the student as much as you would do if you were seeing them in person, or is there a little bit of a difference what you can do with them?
Oh, I'd have to say sometimes it's even better. You know what's
Is
better
it
about it?
more?
Yeah, it's like you can put the camera right on top of the hand in different angles, different spots. You can see even better than live. Yeah, in
Right.
person. It's all live, but in person as opposed to over, let's say, online, remotely. So many aspects, it's even better, even better. Hmm.
So because obviously those students like yourself, they're playing the piano and
Hmm.
they're doing it, they're practicing nearly every day, and that probably does take its toll, like you said, on injuries as well, especially on your fingers. So
Yeah,
how do you prevent that then? What kind of prevention would you ad- do you advise them and yourself?
yeah.
What would you do?
Absolutely. And you know what? It's not just about the repetition. It's
Yeah.
about repeating, let's say in a with a bad posture or with some technique that's not the most efficient. And I'll give you one tip, and basically it's to keep things from going to extreme ranges of motion. Okay. Um, Meaning, well, let's try this little experiment right now. Okay, so let's say a lot of piano players, they or even people who type, try this. Like if you're going to go like this, like just use your fingers like that. You can try it with me, Raj. See which is more comfortable, going like this
Right.
or
Okay.
going like that, opening it up a little bit. Which is more comfortable? Like if you're
Probably
doing
probably the opening. Yeah, the opening
the opening
more.
versus the
Yeah.
curl, right? But so many people are taught to curl, and they over curl their fingers like that.
Yeah.
And it's like just something simple like that can make such a huge difference. Such a huge difference.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. It would make a difference, especially for someone who's even for yourself. I mean, obviously, you probably are careful because you do so much using the piano on an
mhm.
everyday basis because it's a career. So is it a full time career now? Is that
Oh yeah, it's
yeah?
it's it's what I do. It's my profession. That's right.
And how did you become a professor in music? How did that happen?
How did it happen?
Yeah,
Um, well, what aspect do you mean? Like how I decided to become a professor, or
yeah.
the steps in becoming?
How how did you decide first of all to become a professor?
Oh, how I decided? Oh, well, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, which I guess
Yeah,
is the theme of today. It's because my teachers played such a huge role in my career and upbringing and my career and successes, that I wanted to do that for the next generations too, to really make a deep impact. And so for me, it's about education, through education and public service in that sense. So to really serve so that we have progress in this world. So it's not, so there might be some performers who just perform and they don't really teach. But for me, it was very important to pass down what I learned and really create the best out of people to bring their potential to light. For me, that there's nothing less um, joyful than being able to, more joyful than being able to do that, to bring somebody's potential, to see that, oh, something they couldn't do before but they could overcome, and all of a sudden that becomes their favorite thing to do. Yeah, whether it be like a technical skill, they can't play a certain passage because there was something, a hurdle getting in their way, and they would shy away from it, and all of a sudden it opens up the doors when they can do something, and it brings more progress because success can breed more success. So that's what I love about being a professor and working with students who want to do more, who want to reach more, and really effectuate change in a positive way.
yeah, definitely. And so I did want to mention, and obviously, what can people expect then from your album? Is it has your album released then? Is it officially out?
Yeah, so it's been released and it's got favorable reviews uh, and mostly for me it's about whether it speaks to people. It's some of the music is very, very different from what might be considered mainstream. And what I was very impressed with, sometimes you wonder who's listening to the music and are people connecting. And I was so surprised when people understood, they could actually feel what I was getting at, even though the music might be very different from what they might usually encounter. And what I mean by different, for example, the piece by Messiaen, the French composer. Um,
Yeah,
it's it's entitled Oiseaux exotiques, means exotic birds. Okay, the very special quality about Messiaen's exotic birds, Oiseaux exotiques, was that it reflected different bird sounds from outside of France. Okay, and he was one. Um, I'd say the very first to really use it extensively in music the way that it was, not to say that it was like, oh, a mimicking, let's say, how, oh, a swan might sing, but actual notation of actual bird sounds. And I have to share this is really funny because I remember when I was practicing and I had a neighbor who heard me practicing,
yeah,
and I didn't know that before, but like they like to go birding and stuff like that. And then I was practicing this passage of this Messiaen's Oiseau exotique, and then like next time we talked, they're like, "Oh, sounds like such and such bird." They were saying, "Oh, they were the golden oriole." It sounded like, "Oh, you're it sounds like that type of that the bird." It's like, whoa. So I thought, well, first, could I like take credit for being such a great interpreter, but also it's a reflection on Messi and how accurate he was, how true to form and scale about the actual bird songs that they did. And I actually did an analysis and used our modern technology to look at the different sonograms and waves, comparing the musical notation of these birds to actual bird sounds. And it's remarkable how similar they are. Remarkable. So um, it's I have to warn listeners that those who might be scared of those Hitchcock films, The Birds, you might expect something like that. for for those who have not um, experienced that, it's a little wild.
yeah, absolutely. And where can they purchase your music from? Where is it available? Amazon? Is it Amazon? Is that right?
I think so. Now, I haven't looked at it recently. I haven't looked at
Yeah,
it recently, so I'm not really sure. But if folks want it, and feel free to shoot me an email too, or get in contact. I can certainly look that up. I think Amazon might be a good place to go. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, Amazon. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Because I saw a link on the website as well where they can purchase. There's a link on your website as well. And
Uh-huh.
is that website? Have you designed this website yourself, or is it designed by somebody else?
Well, it is designed by somebody else, so I think we need to. There are some things that might need to be updated, and if so, we'll get that going as well. Bear with us for a little while. Yeah, well, that's happening. And but if there's any other information in the meantime that you would like or you're interested in, yeah, don't hesitate to be in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, and what can people? Are you working on any new projects, or what's the plan at the moment?
Oh yeah, I have quite a few new projects, and some of them have to do with the uh, the special techniques I was talking about. And these techniques, it's very interesting. It's for piano players, but it's really for anybody who uses their hands. In fact, so that's one of the things that I continually do, and that's to help folks who might have some issues, whether it be pain in their body somewhere that's from that's getting in the way of their performance. Performing meaning just doing even their daily tasks, to doing musical projects having to do with some performances for specialized groups, piano teachers, music educators, but also general public. I've been doing some things having to do with merging technology too. So using some special designs. One of the instruments I use is a hybrid piano, and that is a regular piano, like the one that you see in the background there, but also has electronics on the inside. So what it does is there's a MIDI triggering that can happen that I can use to trigger different images, for example, to happen. And working on a project with 3D mapping, projection, and all that. So to merge different arts elements together.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, absolutely. So obviously, people can purchase your music, and where can people reach you? Are you available on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook primarily, although if you do you use email, you can also, I'll type it into the chat. But yeah, Facebook is good. And you want,
Facebook, yeah,
mhm.
Facebook. Excellent. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Angelina, if they want to study, because obviously you study and you help students. So people, if they
Mhm.
want to get in touch with you regarding to studying and being a pianist and studying with yourself, they can get in touch. Get on to Angelin's website, angelinchang.com, her official website, and you can search for her on Amazon, and I'm sure you'll be able to get her exclusive music, which is really really good. And obviously she's on YouTube as well. Her videos are there as well. On the Angeline, I mean, uh, you've done loads of stuff, Angeline, and it's been very interesting to speak to you. Is there anything else you would like to add and say to you, the people who are going to be listening to this on, and this is going to be available, just to quickly mention, on Apple Podcasts and all audio podcasts where they can be found, Spotify, Geo, and Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music as well. It'll be available there for anybody who wants to listen to the podcast. You can get onto there. We will upload it by, it will be today, but tomorrow it will be uploaded. So you will be able to listen to it as well. Anything else you want to say to the viewers and the people who will be listening to the audio version or checking the channel out for the interview?
Yeah, sure. Well, Raj, I want to thank you for doing this podcast. It's wonderful. It's real quite a bit of work, and for your energy. And I love how you say never give up. That's absolutely true because we all have something to give and something to produce in the world, and never to give up. And I think that's beautiful. And it's for bringing to light what you've been doing. It's really remarkable, and I applaud you for doing that. It's not easy, and I appreciate what you're doing and continue doing and
Thank you.
growing and all that. So, yeah, thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Angeline. Thank you very much. It's really nice what you've said. Yes, it is. It is. There is a lot of work being done now to make this bigger, to make the community podcast bigger. So obviously, trying to work on that, and obviously, and keep on bringing more people on and trying to make it bigger too. So uh, it becomes more known across the more people. on the Angelin. But thank you very much for coming on, Angelin. I hope you do have a fantastic rest of the day and enjoy. Have a fantastic week. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
And
much, Raj.
thank you.
Great pleasure.